Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of News You Can Use with the Parenting 411. I am so excited about tonight. I have some special guests with me, and they're going to be talking about something that I know is close to the hearts of many of the parents in this group. You all talk a lot about financial literacy, so I'm going to bring them on. I will be joined by none other than Ellen Ross and Lorne Jenkins of Mini Money Management. So just a moment, they will be right here with me. Hi there, Lorne.
Hi, how are you?
Good. Let's see. Lorne, let's see if you can maybe move your chair over a little bit closer to Ellen, just so we can see you both in the frame.
Put that in you. Yeah, you got to twist the chair out a little bit. There we go. All right, better?
Great. I'm so glad we see both of you. Thank you so much for joining me. As I was saying in the introduction, I've heard more than once from parents in this group that they really want to hear about how they can teach their children about the value of money, how you earn money, how you hold on to money. And I really love your story about how you came to create Mini Money Management. And I want them to hear about the program. It might be something that would be, well, I'm sure it would be very useful for their children. So let's start off just with a little bit of an introduction. Why don't you tell our viewers who you are and what your company is all about?
Absolutely. So I'm Lorne Jenkins.
And I'm Ellen Ross. I created the idea and Lorne created the company.
Okay. All right, then. So why don't you tell us about the idea? Because that's interesting backstory about how Lorne decided to start the company, and then Lorne, tell us all about the company.
Absolutely.
Okay, so when Lorne was 8 and his sister was 5, they kept asking me to eat out, and I tried to explain to them that it was more expensive, and they just weren't understanding it. So finally, they woke up one morning, and I had on the wall I had job descriptions, one for a son and one for a daughter. They applied, I interviewed them, I called their references, and they got the job. And from then I created a home economy. And so I paid them 40 play dollars a week, and they had to pay for things like laundry and getting their hair done and transportation to school. And they also had to pay $1 to eat at home per meal, and they had to pay $3 to eat out. And so we just did that for a few months. And after a while, I asked them, I said, well, hey, let's go out to eat. And they were like, oh, no, that's too expensive. And so they actually enjoyed it. And that was the best part, because I was thinking, oh, my goodness, they're going to hate it. I'm going to enjoy it because I'm having fun with it. But they enjoyed it and they wanted to do it again the next summer. But more importantly, they not only did they get it for that summer, they got it throughout their lives. When they chose college and they chose, different things to purchase, Mini Money Management, well, it wasn't called that at the time, but that gave them a lot of knowledge about how to consider the long term, not just, well, what do I want to spend my money on now, but it gave them something where they thought much further down the line.
Also give me $1. Talking about
Oh, yeah. Oh, the best part of it, I forgot. I don't know how I forgot this. The best part of it was if they were arguing or fighting or doing anything that I didn't like, I didn't have to do a regular discipline or be mad or angry. I would just tell them, give me $1. And they were like, oh my goodness, they didn't want to do that, because the other thing that I charged them for were things like swimming or video games. And if it was something that I didn't want them to do, like video games, I would charge them more, but I still let them make the decision, and they determined. So they wanted to keep their $1, so they were much more well-behaved children.
Oh, always well-behaved. And so you kind of fast forward that. And like I said, this is a game that we played for a summer when I was 8. And so I didn't really think that much of it until I actually left for school. So I was lucky enough to get a full ride scholarship, half academic, half athletic, to Campbell University. And I had a lot of friends who turned down full ride scholarships because it wasn't to a big enough school, or it wasn't the school that they had first in mind. And then, so, I got through my 4 years, and I was lucky enough that, I graduated with no student debt. And so I went out to London. And then so I traveled, got my master's degree out there. And a lot of the kids I was starting were starting school while I was getting my master's. And they have this whole day, across London, called Loan Draw Party. And they give you discounts on shops. They give you discounts at meals, like bars. And it's all on the same day that people's student loans hit their accounts. You're like, that's not money for you to spend on clothes. That's for your education. But a lot of kids just weren't taught that. I then worked in the foreign exchange industry as a broker for a little while. And I found that even people who teach other people about money don't know about money. Like some of my mentors were making really, really good money, but they were still like, had maxed out credit cards, hadn't paid off their student debt. And I just genuinely think it's because people aren't taught these things at a very young age. And it's not like, we didn't do the stock challenge at home. The stock market challenge. We literally were just taught the basics. Like, here's your money, pay for your expenses, and whatever money you have left over, that's what you can play with. And so I ended up moving back home a little bit over, I guess, about 1.5 years ago now. And so we kind of had a conversation. I was like, well, why don't we try to do it with parents and teachers? And so Mini Money Management was born. And now we've got an app that allows parents to play the same game that my mom played with me. So your kids are going to get a salary. They're going to have to pay for rent, utilities, laundry. It's going to be more expensive to go out to eat than it is to stay in. But kind of our big philosophy is that we don't think you should have to be an expert to teach kids financial literacy. So everything's inside of an app. The kids are going to have a checking account, a savings account. They can buy items from a shop. And what it's really going to let the parent do is focus on, we kind of say, making parenting easy. So they can focus on the bonuses, the fines, and adding the fun things to the shop, while the system will just take care of making sure that the kids get their salary every week, making sure that they get charged for rent, for their food. And so we kind of we make it easy to teach your kids about money, and then it makes your kids better behaved.
Well, it's interesting. So with this system, parents could manage their allowance with their kids, right? I mean, they could keep track of it. Or
sorry, say that one more time. Our speaker just kind of cut out.
How could parents connect this with their allowance? Like, say they already give their children allowance and they want to keep track of it. Would you think that this would help them with that?
Absolutely. So everything in the app is completely customizable. So say you give your kids $20 a week, you can change the salary to $20 a week. Or another option for you to do is you can just make, say they have to save up 50 mini money management dollars to get 20 real life dollars. And now you're kind of teaching them about foreign exchange. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's more of the behavior system behind it. And we do make the app completely customizable because everybody's going to run their household a little bit different. So for us, it was a lot of sports and swimming and playing outside, whereas other people may have, musicals and talent shows. So every kid's we want it to be able to relate to the kids. So we kind of give parents an easy way to start a household economy. But once, and again, the thing that we see all the time is once parents get comfortable with it, they get to go crazy and get very creative.
Well, I'm wondering with the whole pandemic and quarantining, I'm wondering with families at home together, spending so much more time, have you had more inquiries about your program, more families taking a look at it since they're home anyway with their children and want to start this?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is probably 6 weeks into quarantine, parents realize how hard it is to be a teacher. I saw the movement of let's pay teachers more. Oh, I'm so sorry, our kids are terrible. It's not it's not you, it's us type of thing. And so we did see a very big increase. And I think a lot of people are coming for the parenting techniques. But they do stay because they see the financial implications that it's going to have on their children.
And there are activities too. You can pay bonuses. So the thing I didn't like was pulling weeds. And so it's fall. You can always pay your children extra to go out and rake leaves. And then the other thing I always say is, I know they're cute, but you got to let them run out of money if they mismanage their money. And then you can get your leaves raked.
Yes, that is so important because, with families that give their children allowance, or sometimes the children get money from the grandparents or whomever for their birthday and whatever, and they want to buy these crazy things. And sometimes, when they're little, and they don't want to allow them to do it. And you are exactly right. It's great to start when they're young, when the stakes are low, so that, when they get to college, they don't buy, I don't know, they
don't do the loan drop.
Yes, they don't do the loan drop or go out and buy fancy clothes or get conned out of their money, possibly.
Right.
So that's great. I mean, especially if you teach them and let them feel the consequences of their decisions. Like maybe they spend all their money one weekend, and then their friends call them and see if they want to go play laser tag or do something like that, and they don't have any money.
Yep.
And unless you're going to loan them, unless you're going to give them a loan.
I was just going to say that, or they put their money someplace where it blows away and they don't have money to get their hair done or to eat. and then they have to take out a loan at 10% interest per week was what he had to pay. And as he took out more loans, and because he had good credit now, went down to 8 and then down to 6%. And he had an understanding of that.
Wow. I mean, I first of all, I have to say, Mom, I admire you. I have twin sons who are now young adults. But it's like a lot to keep up with. So talk about how the app kind of helps, so that parents don't feel like, oh, I got to remember this. I got to remember the interest. Oh, yeah, you borrowed from me last week and all this other stuff. How can the app help with keeping track of things like that and making sure they get their money and stuff like that?
So pretty much all the financial things are going to happen automatically. So when you log into the app, there's going to be a dashboard where you can see how much money all your kids have. And like we said, we have it set up so that as soon as you start your household, your kids are going to get their payment every single week. So that's nothing you have to worry about. And we do, like I said, they do have an online checking account. And then we'll make sure that all the automatic expenses are going to happen. And then as far as loans go, so the kids are going to apply for loans on their devices, and it's going to automatically come to the parent's device, and they can approve the loan. They can set the interest rate, how long they want them to pay it back. And so it's a lot less, oh, wait, what do I have to do this week? And it's more, okay, well, let me go to this page and see what they have to take out loans, or let's see if they bought any items in the shop. And again, that's kind of our biggest thing, is that we don't want financial literacy to just be taught by experts. And so we're just making a pretty simple automated system so that you can then go in and create it and kind of add the custom things, like raking and going out to play with your friends and going to play laser tag, as opposed to thinking like, oh, did I pay my kid this week? We're going to handle all that for you. And
the onus is on the child. If the child needs the loan and the parent hasn't gone onto the app, go back to the bank of mom and ask her to take a look at it. So most of the onus is on the child.
Well, listen, I got to tell you something. I'm getting some feedback here. Thank you for joining us, Charlene. She's asking, where can I get this app?
Yeah, so it's Mini Money Management. So MINI, minimoneymanagement.com.
Okay. Also, they can go to your website, or they don't need to go to the app store on their phone, or how?
So everything, it's a web app. So everything is inside of the website. So even if you have Chromebooks or so you can access it from any device, laptop, computer, phone. I guess computer and laptop are the same thing. But right. Yeah, so just Google Mini Money Management, and it's all inside of there.
Okay, so good. So you need to go to the website and say the website for them again, so they know. Because I think some people want to look right now. What's the website again?
So minimoneymanagement.com. MINI, minimoneymanagement.com.
All right. And thank you, Charlene, for putting it in the chat too, for the other folks that are checking in. So tell me, how has this been received? Have you connected with any schools or any community organization or anything like that to get them started on it? I would also even think that churches might like this as well.
So as soon as we got it ready for schools, the pandemic hit and the kids went home. But we did do it for a community organization, and it was actually for high school students, and it was online. And actually I had a blast because I set it up specifically for them. And what type of housing are you going to get? Are you going to be hip and cool and live downtown? Or are you going to live in a bad neighborhood with roommates? Or are you going to live out in the suburbs? And then everybody couldn't get everything. So it was awesome. And they came back and they said, I didn't realize you had to pay for the, utilities, or I didn't realize this cost so much. And of course, the ones who got the car, I charged them for parking and insurance and gas. And they're like, oh my goodness. And it was a real eye opener for these students who were first year in college and in high school seniors. So we're doing it for the community, and it's in classrooms.
Yep. So we're working in schools. So we're all the way kind of K through 12. The app's predominantly K through 8, and then we're running more classes in high school. We actually just started working with, probably in the next couple of weeks, with women who just got released from prison because they need to do some life skills training. And so I think the thing that's been the most, we really started let's do K through 5 and let's keep it there. And kind of as we've just kind of seen how many people aren't just introduced to money. And it's not, and again, we're not teaching them anything super complicated in terms of stocks, bonds, investing, mortgages. It's really just the basics of when you get your money in, you pay your expenses first. And I think that it's a shame, but hopefully we can do something about it. But the fundamentals of money aren't taught. So just because, you're 24, 25, 35, it doesn't mean that you know the basics of money, which has been definitely interesting feedback we've gotten so far.
And for me, even when it was taught, because I grew up in the 80s, and my dad said, save and live off the interest. That's when that was possible. That's not possible anymore, but save and live off the interest. And I was like, yes, but to actually do it, how do you do that? Because I'm still spending money on this and that. And I realized that he needed to not just say it, I needed to feel it. So that's why I created this method, so that you can get an understanding and actually feel and see how it actually practically works.
Now, so is there any charge for families to participate in the program?
So we've got a 10-day free trial, and then it's a monthly subscription for parents.
Oh, okay. And so it's just one subscription, I guess, per family. And this doesn't matter if you have 3 children or you have 1 child.
Yeah, no, it doesn't matter how many kids. And we actually just updated it so you can add, this might be dropping later this week, but we're just updating it so that you can have multiple parents, you can have grandparents, you can add a babysitter to like your household. And so then everybody, can kind of contribute to that behavior management and making sure the kids do their chores.
Okay. So what do you think is next for you? What kind of, what do you all plan to do next? I mean, expanding, are you doing anything to the app? What's exciting coming up?
All the above. So I think one of the, especially on the school side, we're going to make it so they can have a school-wide economy, which is something we're really looking forward to. And the more that I talk to people, there's a lot of people who want to start teaching young people about stocks, because they say, yeah, if I would have got into this 10, 15 years ago, this is how much more money I would have had. And so we've started to work with actually a couple of teachers who have been just kind of teaching stocks kind of organically and trying to put that into an application for parents as well as for teachers. And then as far as expansion, I mean, unfortunately, everywhere that I've been in the world, people aren't taught money. And so our goal is to be worldwide, and we do want kind of a generation of children to just have the basic understanding of money. And I think that can make a huge change, especially in cultures where it's not as big of a thing, or especially in the Black community where we typically don't have as much wealth, which is, at the end of the day, it is what it is. So let's do something going forward to fix that. And so for me personally, I was extremely blessed and lucky to have gotten this. And I didn't realize what that meant until later in life. And so if that's something that I can and we can give back to people, why just stop here? Let's go everywhere.
That's wonderful. And how long again have you all been? Is it a year? Or?
Just over a year. So a year as of August 2nd, so day after her birthday.
That's exciting. That is so exciting. And so you've noticed, Ellen, with both your children that they have been, they make good choices with their money and all of that, and are just very comfortable.
They do. My daughter, the one who was 5, when she got ready to go to college, she wanted to go to Virginia Tech, but Howard had offered her more money, and I went to Howard, so of course that's where I wanted her to go. But I didn't say anything. But Virginia Tech didn't offer as much money. She was going to have a bigger loan. So I just told her, I said, go to bankrate.com and see how much you're going to have to pay back and how long it's going to take you. And she came back the next day. She was like, I'm going to Howard. So she knew she didn't want that large loan. And when she turned 9, she started her own business, and it was Mother's Helper. She wasn't old enough to babysit, but she would babysit for people while they were there, and they could get some stuff done while she played with the children. And we called her money bags, because I would hear her on the phone with her friend saying, oh, no, I can't play with you tomorrow. I have to work. And I got a flat tire one day on the highway. And I said, oh, well, we have to stop by the ATM first because this guy only takes cash. And she said, well, how much do you need at 9 years old? I said, well, it's $50. And she went her little purse. She was like, I have it. So yes, they have been very good with money. I had a younger child who was about 2 or 3 at that time. And so she was too young. But even though she didn't participate, just being around it, she started out a little rough, but she now is really good with money, which I was so shocked. Just even being around it was helpful.
Oh, okay. Let me just take a couple of questions here. Okay. So someone wants to know, at what age did you start teaching your children about financial responsibility?
I started this when they were 5. Well, the youngest was 5, and he was 8. And so I just used what they like to do normally. You know, if they like, again, if they wanted to go swimming, they understand swimming. And I could see them saying, well, wait a minute, I don't want to play so many video games because I know next week I'm going to want to go swimming. They have the capability of thinking that at those ages.
Right, right. And it's funny how much more responsible they get when it's when they have to use their money. I will never forget, my sons both played basketball, but one in particular really liked to have all the shoes and all of that. And so every season, whatever sport they played, we bought the first pair or whatever it was to get them started. And so, but he wanted another pair. And, you know, he wanted the big names, you know, Nike, Adidas, can't remember. And so there was another up and coming, like it's a big brand now, but I won't put them out there. But their shoes, they had some shoes for like about $50. And it was just so amazing how I couldn't get him to look at those shoes when we went to get his one pair of shoes for the season. But the second time around, when he wanted an extra pair of shoes, oh, those were just great. And that's what he $50 pair. And it's funny, like I said, that one was on the come up, and now, you know, you can't get any $50 sneakers with them either. But it was just interesting. How much more responsible they get when it's their money. And, you know, I'm seeing that in college as well. I mean, there's certain things that we help with, you know, that we feel committed to help with. And then, you know, they cut corners on the other stuff. I mean, my husband was telling me one son was like, oh, I don't want to go to that grocery store because he even wanted to, you know, go shop at one of the big box stores because that would be cheaper than the grocery store.
Well, I had a friend, and whenever they were in school, I'd always pick the smarter kid. If they said they got a B, I'd say, well, what did this other child get? And that child went off and he went to work, and I was talking to his mother, and his mother said, yeah, he said he wanted to get internet. And then he called her back and said, well, did you know you have to pay for a router? And then he said, did you know you have to pay for the internet every month? And then he had graduated from college and did not realize this. And so she was kind of irritated because he decided not to get internet because he could stand in a corner of his apartment and get the internet. And I said, no, absolutely not. That's his choice. If he wants to be in a pretzel, you know, in a corner using the internet. And then the pandemic came and his company paid for the internet. So I was like, it all works itself out. I can't express enough how much you have to let them experience that consequence and let them make their decisions, because what's painful for you may not be painful for them.
Right. That is so funny. And, you know, later I want to send you some information about some places that I think would probably be interested in this, because I think this is just so very useful. So are there any kinds of tips you have for helping parents? I mean, beyond definitely getting your app, getting started. But, you know, as a parent, and I'll ask you a different question, but as a parent, Ellen, what are some key things, like 3 key things you think children need to understand about money to set them on the course for being good stewards of their resources when they become adults?
Well, one, I think you need to actually open up and share. You don't have to tell the child how much you make or anything like that, but they need to understand that everything costs money. And they need to understand that money is not in the ATM machine, but that you put it there. So like that young man who didn't realize you had to pay for a router, they never shared that with them. And they just need to understand that. You need to let them go out and, again, make their own choices about, like, clothing. Give them a budget, you know, even with real money and not just with necessarily the mini money. Let them make their choices. And then they decide whether they want, you know, 10 cheap shirts or they want that one expensive name brand shirt. Letting them experience their consequences is very important. And making it fun. I mean, you know, it's just making it was a lot of fun for them. I was worried that it wouldn't be, because I'm getting my weeds pulled or my, you know, how fun can that be? But when they knew that they could spend it on swimming or video games, it was fun for them. So it can be fun. So I think those are the important things.
Oh, okay. And then Lorne, I guess I'd like to ask you, among your peers, what can you say are the pitfalls of not having this foundation when kids are younger? What kinds of things are you seeing folks do that they probably wouldn't do if they knew better?
I think it's just having a very, very short term like mindset when it comes to money. And so, like I said, like even at a young age, I had to take out a loan, and over the next 3 to 4 weeks, I was paying back interest. And so that's obviously not the same as when you grow up, but like I was still thinking like, okay, if I make this money decision today, what's that going to mean for me down the line? And I think that there's such a impulsivity and like a instant gratification, especially like around people my age, like, okay, well, everybody else is wearing it. This is what I need. And I think that like, it's just the fact that the decisions that you make today are going to have a huge impact on what you're going to look like a month down the line, a year down the line, 10 years down the line. But we just get so caught up in saying, okay, like, well, if I don't have this pair of shoes, I can't go out tonight. Like, well, if you take a step back, you're like, okay, well, maybe you don't go out tonight, but then you can save up and go on like a trip later. And so I think like really having that long-term thinking when it comes to money, that doesn't need to be 30, 40 years, even like a month down the line, I think would help a lot of young people out a lot.
Okay. All right. Now, very quickly, tell our viewers where they can learn more about you, whether, on your website, as well as if you have any social media handles where people can follow you.
Yeah. So all of our social media is Mini Money Management, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. MiniMoneyManagement.com is where the app is hosted. So it's a web app. So like I said, you can access it from any device. I think that's all we got. We got a YouTube channel where you put out like kind of like just easy like parenting and financial literacy tips. As well, but those are also going to be on our social media as well. So whatever your preferred platform is, just look up Mini Money Management. And yeah, we've got a 10-day free trial for parents. And after that, it's just a monthly subscription. So, yeah.
Okay. And Ellen, you have any tips also about, starting a company with one of your children? What's that like?
It's been great for me. A little more tough for him. Because, I work full time doing something else. So he has come up with these ideas, and he's come up with the ideas like that young people have. Like for schools, he came up with the idea of, let's give it to teachers for free. And my personality was like, no, but allowing him to do it and let him do it and let him come up with the platform that he has and what he's come up with is amazing. He said, give it to the teachers for free, but we'll get marketing money from financial institutions. So backing off and letting him do it, and then knowing when to step in and give suggestions.
Okay.
Or grab him around the neck and force him, whatever you need to do for those sometimes.
Now, one more thing I did want to ask. So do you have, I was wondering now, especially since you're not getting out to the schools or just physically engaging with people in person, are you, could people see webinars or anything like that? Do you have anything like that coming up?
So a lot of the webinars that we've already done are on the website and just kind of MMM in the news. And we are looking to kind of get actually a blog up and coming. And so that's where we're going to just put out kind of weekly financial literacy tips, parenting tips. And as well for parents, we've got a whole like a resources page. So there's going to be a bunch of books you can see, a bunch of articles, podcasts, because there are a lot of people out there with good tips on money. It's not just us. And so we're trying to put those all in like one place and give people easy access to it.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me this evening. And I urge our viewers, whether you are watching it live or you catch it on replay, to please check out Mini Money Management with your little ones. Let's get them started right now, understanding what money is, how to get it, and how to keep it. Thank you again, Ellen and Lorne. And I will be circling back with you. Again, I have a couple of organizations that I'd like to tell you about, and hopefully you can connect with them. So I'm really excited about this. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much for having us. This is great.
Absolutely. So you all have a good evening, and I'm sure you want to go tune into the debate this evening, as I know a lot of people are. So have a good evening.
You too. Thank you again.
Okay.